What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Okay, I've got a pretty good one here for you guys today. We're dealing with the Biden administration and their nonsense on this one, and also the Trump administration and what the Trump administration is actually doing to try to fix some of Biden's blunders, if you will. Check this out. Watchdog says Trump administration illegally halted EV charger funding. Now, what is so fascinating about this is that's what the watchdog says happened, but that's not what happened in reality. But we'll get into that. I don't want to be a spoiler sport here, so I don't want to spoil the story for you guys. Let's get into this. The Trump administration is breaking the law by withholding funds appropriated by Congress for a national electric vehicle EV charging network, a government watchdog says. Now, what this is meant to do, this is all manipulative, by the way, because they know that, a lot of times people just read the headlines. So they make sure and headline it with, the Trump administration is breaking the law. And then for the people that actually kind of go in and read the news, which most people don't read all the way through the whole story, that's why I make it a point to do so. They read the first few paragraphs. So what the corporate press does, it's totally manipulative. Instead of giving you the facts, they give you the partisan statements from one side as the first few paragraphs. And then you think that, hang on, that's how reality is. But hang on just a second, that's not how reality is. This is all a manipulation tactic to get you on their side, because they want you on their side. They want you to believe their narrative. And their narrative, always, folks, Republicans are bad, Democrats are good. That's always the narrative, regardless, right? The issue is never the issue. The issue is always the Democrat revolution. It's insane, y'all. The bipartisan infrastructure law allocated $5 billion for the National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure, or NEVI, program, which sets out to help build a national network of EV chargers. See, what they do is they give you a partisan take as the very first line, and then they give you the facts, the basis for the partisan take as the next line, right? To back up the previous line, right? So now they feel they're justified in their accusations here. In February, the Department of Transportation said it would rescind all guidance related to the program, and that no new obligations may occur under the existing program until it issues updated guidance. That is very, very important to break it down, if you will, because what that is saying is they took the program, they looked at the program, they saw massive flaws and unmitigated failures in the program, and said, we're not going to get rid of this program. We're going to revamp this program. We're going to streamline this program and make it work for the American people. That's what that means. So now that paragraph right there just totally debunks the first the first little line, if you will, that the watchdog says the Trump administration broke the law. Well, it hasn't broke the law. There isn't anything in that law that says they can't look at the guidance and revamp that guidance. If there's an ultimate failure, a terminal flaw, a critical malfunction in this program. But once again, the corporate press doesn't tell you that. They leave that bit of information out, or it's up in the air. If you want to figure that out, you go ahead and figure that out, which is, as a matter of fact, in fact-checking this video, that's exactly what I had to do. That is how I know this. This is not just coming out of my brain. This is coming from reality. A lawsuit over the matter from several states alleges that the department is withholding a total of $2.74 billion in funding. The Government Accountability Office, a nonpartisan congressional watchdog, this week agreed, saying the Trump administration's move violates the Impoundment Control Act. But does it? No, as a matter of fact, it doesn't. And once again, folks, what they're trying to do by saying that the GAO is a nonpartisan congressional watchdog, which is just not true. There is nothing in this country that is nonpartisan when it comes to the government, when it comes to Congress, right? This is a very partisan committee. It's just absolutely true. So, once again, they're giving you a partisan take, and then they're lying to you and saying that's a nonpartisan take. Believe us. That's what they're doing with this. This is these micro manipulations that I always talk about. This is the corporate press begging you to believe us. That's what that is. But they cannot prove that it violates the Impoundment Control Act because it doesn't. Right? Now, once again, if they would have withheld the $2.74 billion, that itself would violate the Impoundment Control Act. But as we learned, they are not withholding that funding. They are pausing the program, revamping it. They're not doing away with anything, folks. Once again, they saw a critical failure in the program, and we'll get to that. I've got the facts for you, as a matter of fact. DOT is not authorized to withhold these funds from expenditure and must continue to carry out the statutory requirements of the program, the watchdog said. Now, once again, this is manipulative. This is to make you think that the administration has paused the funding, has stopped it outright, but they haven't. If DOT wishes to make changes to the obligation and expenditure of funds appropriated under the NEVI formula program, it must propose funds for rescission or otherwise propose legislation to make changes to the law for consideration by Congress, the GAO continued. A spokesperson for the Transportation Department said in an email that the watchdog's report shows a complete misunderstanding of the law. And once again, folks, that's another kind of micro manipulation. They make that statement brief, very brief. They put it way down into the article. It's pretty much buried in the middle of the article there. And they make it very brief. They don't tell you how, blah, 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 blah. But they do that because they know most people, they're not even going to make it that far into the article. Their conclusion conflicts with Congress's intent and completely misunderstands the federal aid highway program and how Congress structured the NEVI program, the department said. In cherry-picking language in the program statute, GAO's assessment is also at odds with its own reports on how federal aid highway programs similar to NEVI receive and use appropriated funds. The spokesperson added that the department was reviewing and updating the program guidance because the implementation of NEVI has failed miserably, and DOT will continue to work in good faith to update the program so it can be utilized more effectively, more efficiently, and more effectively. There you go, folks. While the finding only applies to the EV program, that is just one of many undergoing a funding freeze or cancellation instituted by the Trump administration. Senate Democrats estimate that the administration is blocking a total of $430 billion. Yeah, but hang on, what do Senate Republicans say? Oh, they never tell you. Once again, that's another manipulation by only giving you one side of the story here, or the vast majority, right? Like you get statements from the watchdog group, you get statements from a nonpartisan group, and then you get statements from another partisan group. But yet you get this one statement over here that says, nah. This legal decision affirms what we've long known. The president is breaking the law to block funding Congress passed on a bipartisan basis, and that is owed to the American people, simply because he disagrees with it. This plain fact is unacceptable and cannot stand any longer, Senator Patty Murray said in a statement. These bipartisan investments need to start flowing immediately, as do the hundreds of billions of dollars in other investments President Trump is holding up. I don't care about Russ Valt's personal interpretation of our spending laws. The Constitution is clear, and President Trump simply does not have the power of the purse. Congress does. Murray added, referring to the director of the White House Office of Management and Budget. Now, what I find so fascinating about all this is I'm not even sure what the hell she's talking about, because the Trump administration, once again, as we learned, did not cancel any funding. They have put it on pause while they revamp a utterly failed program. Now, the reason I say it's an utterly failed and has critical flaws is this. I went to Grok, our good digital friend over there, and asked a simple question. Check this out. How many charging stations has the NEVI program completed thus far? As of the latest available data from November of 2024, the National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Formula Program has completed 31 charging stations across 9 states, with a total of 126 public charging ports in operation. These states include Ohio, New York, Pennsylvania, Kentucky, Hawaii, Maine, Rhode Island, Vermont, and an additional unspecified state with stations under construction. So I was like, oh, that's 31. Hang on. That was a $5 billion program. That's only 31 stations. Now, each station has roughly about 10 ports. So think about that for a second. Now, remember that number. At 31, you might think, $5 billion? Well, they've spent about half of that because they're withholding $2.74 billion. That's a little bit more than half, right? So, what would that be? $2.22 billion? I think that's what that is. $2.2 billion for 31 charging stations. That's a lot. I think Elon Musk said they're a couple $100 per charging station. You know, the Tesla charging stations. Now, I went on to ask a question. Now, you might think, well, maybe they're just expensive charging stations and they're right on track, right? Hang on. So I asked a simple question, which would be the next logical step. How many were projected to be built by said program? This is where we get into the weeds and why I say it's an utter failure of a program. The National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Program, or Formula Program, established under the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, aims to deploy a national network of electric vehicle charging stations with a goal of 500,000 public chargers by 2030. While the program itself does not specify an exact number of stations to be built, it allocates $5 billion over 5 years from 2022 to 2026 to states for deploying EV charging infrastructure, primarily along designated alternative fuel corridors. Wow. So they've built 31 out of a proposed 500,000. Now, I think they're kind of getting the language conflated here because I don't think it's 500,000 charging stations, even though that's what it says, public chargers. Well, it says with a goal of 500,000 public chargers. Now, if we go with the base number there of 10 chargers per station, that is still 50,000 stations. They've only built 31. Okay, how many years has it been? It's been 3 years now. Huh? I would say that's an utter failure. Wouldn't you? I mean, that funding is supposed to run out by 2026. That's what the funding is through. That's less than a year from now. I mean, I don't know what part of 2026. Let's just say it could be less than a year from now. It could be a little bit over a year from now. You think they're going to get, well, what would that be, 49,970 something chargers built in that amount of time? No. Clearly, something has failed here. And apparently, it is the program itself. It just doesn't work, if you ask me. Now that we know all the information about this program, the question is, do you believe that the Trump administration is breaking the law here by looking at a failed program, or we'll be fair, looking at a program that has set out to build 50,000 charging stations, has only built 31 in a 3-year span, and they said, hang on, maybe this needs to be revamped. Maybe we need to rethink how we're implementing this program. Do you think they're breaking the law by doing that? Or do you think that they're just looking out for the interests of efficiency on behalf of the American people? Let me know what you think down in the comment section. I'm pretty sure you guys know what I think about that. But y'all let me know what y'all think. Y'all don't forget to smash that like button for me. Subscribe if you're new around here. That would be lovely if you guys could do that. Also, it would be even better than that if you could look right below the video and click that join button. Sign up, become a member, help me deliver the news to you guys. That would be great. share this video anywhere and everywhere you can. That is the #1 best way to help me out. Plus, it's free. So, y'all do that for me, and y'all try to have a good day. Stay legit. I screwed that all up. Peace or something. Later.